Good morning, church. We're finally in September. Can you believe it? We're going to be in 2 Corinthians 11, 7 through 9. Paul is continuing to defend his apostleship to these false teachers, super apostles. Verse 7, or did I commit a sin in humbling myself so that you might be exalted because I preached God's gospel to you free of charge? I robbed other churches by accepting support from them in order to serve you. And when I was with you and was in need, I did not burden anyone but the brothers who came from Macedonia supplied my needs. So I refrain and will refrain from burdening you in any way. So we're faced again with this kind of one-sided conversation where Paul is addressing his critics, the people in the Corinthian church. Only this time we know a little more that it has to do with financial support. The Corinthians wanted to support Paul, and Paul refused to take money from them. He didn't want to be under any obligation. And this is good and maybe helps people understand why it is so hard for pastors sometimes when they're preaching. It's difficult because you want to step on toes, but you're afraid if you do, they'll withdraw their financial support. So Paul was being very wise. He understood that he needed to be able to call the Corinthians out on their error. And so he needed to be independent. So by declining support from them, he was able to have his independence and be able to tell and teach the church what the truth of what they really needed to hear, what God wanted them to hear. So was he being inconsistent? Well, I don't think so. He took support from the brothers in Macedonia, which were the church in Philippi, but he only did so after he left Philippi, the Philippian church, so he could remain independent with them. This is a good lesson for us to keep in mind. We know that when we take support from somebody, we feel obligated to that person. And so it can be quite a temptation. And so to remain independent, you have to say, I'm not going to take money from you. Now, we know he did take support from the Corinthians, but only to help support the church in Jerusalem. So again, Paul remained independent and very consistent and very wise. And I think we can all learn some things here. One of the things that we can learn is there is a danger in taking support from somebody. It takes, there's always baggage behind it. We know it's been said well that there's no such thing as a free lunch, and that really is true. And so just keep that in mind as you support other ministries, as you decide how to be good stewards of the resources that God has given you, and understand there's maybe an unintended consequence. God knows the heart, and we should be glad that He's the only one who truly does. That's all for now.